There is a pot of porridge on sale in this country right now that works out at £27 a kilo. The oats inside it cost about £1.10. One of the most patriotic tartan-wrapped Scottish breakfasts on the shelf is owned by the American giant that makes Pepsi and Walker's crisps. One baby porridge, sold for the smallest, most vulnerable mouths in your house, lists plain sugar in its ingredients, then prints only natural ingredients on the front, and the simple, healthy, whole-grain breakfast that millions of us trust to set us up for the morning spikes your blood sugar almost exactly like a slice of white bread. Porridge should be the one shelf in the whole supermarket they can't touch. Oats and water. The cheapest, simplest, most honest breakfast in Britain. Pennies a bowl, one ingredient, the thing your gran stirred on the hob while the kettle boiled. You cannot improve on it, so they didn't try to improve it. They took it apart. Here's what they're banking on you not knowing, that the word porridge on the front of a fancy pot, a flavoured sachet or a high-protein tub is doing an enormous amount of lying. They've milled the oats to powder so they cook in 90 seconds and so they hit your bloodstream like sugar. They've poured in actual sugar and called it a treat. They've bolted on protein you never needed and charged you for the privilege. And they've wrapped the whole thing in words. Wholesome, natural, mighty, simple, that mean nothing once you turn the pack over. The oats are still innocent. The bag of plain oats on the bottom shelf is still the real thing, still costs almost nothing, and is still one of the best things you can eat. This was never about porridge being bad for you. It's about what they've done to it on the way to your basket and how much they're charging you for the damage. So here's the deal. I'm going to count down 8 porridge brands I'd leave on the shelf, worst saved for last. And don't skip ahead, because number 1 is the one sitting in most of your cupboards right now. And at the very end, the 5 honest ones worth buying, including the cheapest oats in the shop. Let's get into it. Think back to what porridge actually was. A bag of oats, maybe a tube with a man in a kilt on the front. You put it in a pan with milk or water, you stirred it, and 4 minutes later you had breakfast for the whole family for about 10 pence a head. No ingredients list worth reading because there was nothing in it. Oats. That was the deal for 100 years. Somewhere along the way, the industry looked at the cheapest food in Britain and saw a problem. There's no money in honest oats. You can't put a 40% margin on a sack of grain that Aldi sells for £1. So they went to work. Not on the oats, on you. They invented convenience you didn't need. The sachet, the microwave pot, the big bowl. To make oats cook in seconds, you have to roll them thinner and grind them finer. And the finer you grind an oat, the faster your body turns it to sugar. The slow-release breakfast that's supposed to keep you full till lunch was quietly engineered to do the opposite. Then they sweetened it, because powder is bland. So on went the sugar, and the golden syrup flavour, and the natural flavouring. And lately, this is the newest move. They've discovered the magic word protein. Walk down the aisle today and you'll find protein porridge, protein pots, protein sachets, a whole wall of them launched in the last couple of years, all selling you back a nutrient that plain oats already had. Mornflake, fuel 10K. Even Quaker have all piled in, a word printed bigger and a price pushed higher. Same oats, more processing, more words, and every single step is an excuse to charge you more. That's the race to the bottom, dressed up as breakfast. And it works because porridge has a halo. We all know it's healthy, so we switch our brains off at this shelf and never turn the box over. That trust is the gap they climb through. One quick ask before the countdown and it's worth 2 seconds. If this is useful, give it a like, and if you can see the hype button, tap it. Hyping a video is the single strongest signal you can send YouTube to put this in front of more shoppers. We haven't got a marketing budget. The brands we're about to go through have. So the only way this reaches the people being quietly overcharged and misled is if you hype it and send it to someone who still buys this stuff out of habit. Do that, and let's count them down. Number 8, Scott's Porridge Oats. Look at that box. The old-fashioned spelling, P-O-R-A-G-E. The tartan, the big Highland strongman, the milled-in Cooper, Fife since 1947. Everything about it says this is Scotland in a packet. The honest Scottish breakfast your grandfather ate, made by Scots for Scots. It isn't. Scott's Porridge Oats is owned by PepsiCo, the American multinational behind Pepsi, Doritos and Walker's Crisps. It was bought by Quaker back in 1982 and Quaker was swallowed by PepsiCo in 201. That killed kilt and that heritage aren't a fact about who makes your breakfast or who profits from it. They're a marketing asset, owned in New York, polished up and refreshed in recent years precisely because Scottishness sells. They even ran years of adverts with the actor Rory McCann in a kilt as the face of the brand. The Highland Strongman is a casting choice, not a heritage. Now, the porridge inside isn't bad, it's oats. Decent ones, and that's exactly the trick, because you're paying a heritage premium comfortably 2 to 3 times the price of a supermarket bag of identical oats, for a story printed on the box. Nutritionally, a £1.10 bag of own brand oats and a tube of Scots are the same breakfast. One has a man in a kilt on it. That man costs you money. There's no scandal in the bowl here. The scandal is the costume. They've taken plain oats, the most honest thing in the shop, and sold them back to you wrapped in a flag at a markup, hoping you'll mistake nostalgia for quality. That's not a Scottish breakfast. That's an American snack company renting you a memory. The mill in Fife is real enough, but the profit doesn't stay in Fife. It goes to the same boardroom counting the takings from every bag of Walkers and every bottle of Pepsi. Buy oats, but skip the tartan tax. Number 7. The supermarket own brand instant sachets. The Tesco, Sainsbury's and Aldi golden syrup ones you grab thinking you're being sensible and thrifty. Turn over a box of Tesco's instant golden syrup oats and read the percentage. Oat flakes, 62%. The other 38% is sugar, dried skim milk, whey powder and flavouring. These own brand sachets work out at £4, £5, £6 a kilo. You're paying several times over for the supermarket to grind the oats up, add sugar and cut them into little paper packets. The cruelty of it is that the sachet is aimed squarely at the person trying to be careful, the one who reaches past the branded box for the cheaper option and feels good about it. They've engineered a budget product that's worse value than the proper food sitting right next to it. That's not a cheaper porridge, that's the same rip-off in a supermarket's own handwriting. The cheap option was already on the shelf. It's the big bag. Number 6. Fuel 10K. It's aimed at the crowd who think they're making the disciplined, healthy choice. So let's read it. High protein, golden syrup, porridge, whole grain oats, 67%. Then sugar, then milk protein concentrate, skimmed milk powder, and flavouring. It's oats, sweetened with dried milk protein stirred through. A single pot is the thick end of £2 for 70 grams. Work it up and you're paying around £20 a kilo for oats, sugar, and milk powder, because someone printed 13 grams protein on the lid. That's not high protein fuel, that's breakfast cosplaying as a supplement. Number 5, and this one I'm almost sad about, Mornflake. Mornflake are the real thing, a family that's been milling oats in Cheshire since 1675. That is not a typo, the 1600s, and the same family still runs it. Their plain jumbo oats are genuinely excellent. British, properly milled. If anyone has earned the right to just sell honest porridge, it's them, which is why it stings to see what's happened. Mornflake have launched Go, high-protein porridge, soya protein bolted in, pots and sachets, straight into Sainsbury's. When a 350-year-old family oat mill starts selling you protein pots, you know the trend has eaten the entire industry. There is no corner of this aisle the gimmick hasn't reached. And here's the tell. The same mill, the same family, the same oats sells you a bag of plain Mornflake for next to nothing and a Go pot at getting on for £20 a kilo. One product is the honest thing they've made for 3 centuries. The other is soya powder, flavouring and a markup made by the same hands. That's the whole game in a single company. They can do it properly. They've done it properly since before the Industrial Revolution. They've just worked out there's more money in the pot than the bag. And notice who it's aimed at. Not the families who've bought Mornflake for generations, but the wellness shelf and the gym crowd, the people who'll pay a premium for the word protein on almost anything. So I'll say it plainly, buy Mornflake, the plain bag, the one that's been right all along. Leave the Go. That's not innovation. That's a good miller learning bad habits. And if a family mill 3 centuries old has been pulled into this, wait until you see what the biggest names on the shelf are doing, because the worst 2 are still coming. Number 4. Mama is the posh one. British brand, lovely matte packaging, nearly 20 years perfecting creamy, wholesome porridge. A single Mama pot is about £1.49 for 55 grams. Work that up to a kilo and you're paying around £27 a kilo for porridge. Buy the 12-pack and it's over £13 for a box that is, by weight, about 660 grams of oats. The plain oats at the bottom of the same shop's shelf are £1.10. That is not a premium. That is a markup of more than 20 times. Plain British jumbo oats, by comparison, cost almost nothing. The premium brand, the one that looks the most wholesome on the entire shelf, is quietly the worst value in the shop. That's the inversion they never advertise. Posh doesn't mean honest, it just means the markup is bigger. That's not a wholesome breakfast. That's £27 oats in a nice jumper. Number 3, Ready Brek. And now we're into the part of the shelf aimed at children, which is where I stop finding any of this funny. If you're British and over 40, Ready Brek is pure childhood. Central heating for kids. The little ones walking to school with a warm orange glow around them. Your mum gave it to you. You've probably given it to yours. It's wrapped in 2 generations of trust. Those adverts. The glowing child, the voice of John Pertwee, ran for years and did their job. They made a powder feel like love. So here's what's underneath the glow. Ready Brek isn't rolled oats, it's oat flour. It's the most finely milled porridge on the entire shelf, ground to a powder so it turns to mush the instant it hits hot milk. And we've already said what fine milling does. The finer the oat, the faster your body turns it to sugar. The breakfast marketed for decades as slow, steady, all-morning warmth for a growing child is, texturally, about the fastest digesting oats you can buy. And here's the part that's actually more useful than the outrage. Plain Ready Brek has no added sugar, and a Which survey rated it among the lowest sugar cereals going. The original is genuinely not the problem. The problem is the chocolate. Same brand, same trusted glow, aimed at the same kids. But where the original keeps the sugar out, the chocolate stirs it in. That's the move. Build the trust on the clean original, then sell the sweetened version off the back of it. And the brand that owns that trust isn't a British institution at all. Ready Brek belongs to Weetabix, which has been owned since 2017 by Post Holdings, an American cereal conglomerate. That's not central heating for kids. That's a sugar spike wearing a childhood memory. Buy the original if you buy it at all, and leave the chocolate one on the shelf. Number 2, and this is the one that genuinely makes me angry. Heinz, the baby porridge. This is the smallest, most vulnerable customer in your house. A parent standing in the baby aisle, sleep-deprived, trying to do right by their child, reaching for a brand they've trusted their whole life. Heinz by nature. The name itself is a promise. Natural, gentle, nothing you wouldn't want. When the campaign group Action on Sugar went through the baby aisle in 2022, here's what they found on Heinz by Nature creamed porridge. The ingredients listed plain sugar, and the front of that same pack carried the words only natural ingredients, and the line sugar from a natural source, which, the campaigners pointed out, isn't even a permitted claim. And there is no protection. The watchdog that's supposed to stop a banned sugar claim appearing on food for infants is asleep as usual. That's not by nature. That's sugar in a bib, sold to the parents who trusted the name most. And number 1, the worst of the lot. And the one I guarantee is in more of your cupboards than anything else on this list. Quaker. Oat so simple. This is the porridge of the nation, the friendly Quaker man. Oat so simple. The name is the whole promise. Simple, wholesome, the sensible, healthy breakfast you reach for without thinking. The one you give the kids before school, the one you genuinely believe is good for you. Of everything we've covered, this is the brand most people trust the most, which is exactly why it's number 1. Remember the very first thing I told you, the healthy breakfast millions trust that potentially spikes your blood sugar like white bread? This is it. Oat so simple is milled and pre-cooked, so it's ready in 90 seconds in the microwave. And that convenience is the problem. Instant oats like these carry a glycemic index up around the high 70s to low 80s. Proper rolled oats sit down around the 40s. A 2019 clinical trial published in the British Journal of Nutrition tested different levels of oat processing on blood sugar, and instant oats came out worst by a distance, spiking you far harder than rolled or steel-cut oats. Stack that against the published glycemic index data, where instant oats sit up around the high 70s to low 80s, right in the same territory as white bread, and the picture is damning. The single most popular slow-release sets-you-up-for-the-day breakfast in Britain has been ground down until it behaves in your body like toast from a white loaf. The health halo is the marketing. The spike is the product. And that's before the flavour sachets. Oat so simple golden syrup. Read it, is oats and then sugar. 7 grams of sugar in one little sachet, around a teaspoon and a half, 21 grams per 100. The word on the box is simple. The second ingredient is sugar. That's not simple. That's a biscuit you eat with a spoon. And yes, even here, they've chased the gimmick. There's now an Oats So Simple protein version. They thin the oats down to 66% and stir in soya protein, so the nation's simple breakfast can join the protein wall too. Simple. Apparently now needs a supplement. Then the price. Those sachets work out at nearly £13 a kilo. 13. For oats that the same supermarket sells you, whole and better for you, for about £1.10. You are paying more than 10 times the price to have the oats wrecked. Ground to a powder that spikes you, sweetened and cut into single-serve packets. Think about that. 11 times the money for a worse breakfast. And the friendly Quaker on the box works for PepsiCo. The same company as Pepsi, Doritos, and Walkers. The most wholesome-looking face in the cereal aisle is the front of a global snack giant. So put it together. The most trusted porridge in the country is the one that's been processed the hardest, spikes you the worst, hides sugar behind the word simple, charges you 11 times over for the damage, and is owned by a soft drinks multinational. That is the whole race to the bottom in one blue box. Would your gran look at a 90-second microwave sachet of golden syrup oats and call it porridge? She'd call it a pudding. And she'd be right, that's not oats so simple. That's oats so processed, so sweetened, and so marked up that the only simple thing left about it is how easily we've all been had. So that's the 8. Now the part that actually changes your shopping, the honest ones, the porridge that's still just porridge. And here's the good news you've probably already guessed. The safe list is also the cheap list. For once, doing the right thing costs you less, not more. One note before I name prices. These are what we found this week. They'll drift a few pence either way, but the verdicts won't. Start here because it's the whole point of the video. A plain bag of supermarket porridge oats, Aldi, Asda, any of them, is about £1.10 for a kilo. One ingredient, oats. No sugar, no flavouring, no protein gimmick, no powder. That kilo is something like 30 bowls of breakfast, which works out at 3 or 4 pence a serving. It is, bowl for bowl, one of the cheapest and one of the healthiest things you can put in your trolley. The single most honest product in this entire category is the one with nothing written on the front and the lowest price on the shelf. That's not a coincidence. That's the whole con, in reverse. If you want to step up in quality without leaving honesty behind, Mornflake Jumbo Oats. Yes, the same Mornflake whose go-pots I told you to skip. The plain jumbo bag is the family doing what they've done since 1675. Big, thick, properly milled British oats, a couple of pounds for a bag, and the thicker the flake, the slower and steadier it digests. They can do it properly. On the plain bag, they have. Same story with Scott's. Skip the tartan tax tubes if you like, but the plain Scott's old-fashioned oats are, underneath the kilt, perfectly honest oats. If you love the brand, buy the plain one and ignore the costume. For the keen, if you really want the gold standard for keeping your blood sugar flat, look for steel cut or pinhead oats, the Scottish kind that are chopped rather than rolled. Hamlins of Scotland, milled in Banffshire, is the classic, and it's in most big Tesco's. They take 15-20 minutes to cook, but they're the least processed oat you can buy and the slowest to digest. A tin lasts ages and costs a couple of quid. Sunday morning porridge done properly. And if you genuinely need convenience, a pot at your desk, a sachet in your bag, you don't have to give up entirely. The clean ends of 2 brands we've already covered will do it. Mama's plain, no added sugar pot is just oats and milk powder, and plain Ready Brek Original has no added sugar at all. Pay the convenience premium with your eyes open if you must, just buy the versions without the sugar and the marketing. One last thing, and I'm telling you this so you've got the full picture, not to scare you off oats, because oats are still the answer. There's a catch that touches even the good bag. Oats are often sprayed with a weed killer called glyphosate to dry the crop before harvest, and testing has found traces of it in popular oat cereals, including Quakers. The levels found sit within what regulators allow, but the label doesn't have to tell you it's there at all. If that bothers you, the fix is simple and still cheap. Buy organic oats, often under £2 a kilo. Same honest breakfast, none of the spray. So there it is. You now know which 8 to leave on the shelf, which 5 to buy, and the one habit that tells the fakes from the real thing in 5 seconds flat. Tell me in the comments which aisle we should pull apart next. Your suggestions decide what we investigate. Subscribe and stick with me. We do one of these every week, and there's always another front of pack story that doesn't survive a look at the back. Until then, buy the big bag, stir it yourself, and never settle for less than you and your family deserve.